Welcome to PBS Together, where your passion for positive behaviour support becomes a pathway to excellence. Experience a platform crafted by practitioners for practitioners, combining the finest in online education to enhance your professional journey. Our bespoke courses go beyond traditional learning. Here, you don't just watch videos or tick boxes in quizzes. Instead, you'll demonstrate vital skills, preparing you for real-life challenges in your practice. Join our thriving community through tailored membership options. Access everything you need: interactive courses, webinars by global experts, supervision groups, and a trove of resources. Embark on a rewarding endeavour with PBS Together. Express your interest today and unlock a special discount for our founding members. Welcome everybody. We're really excited to welcome you here this afternoon to PBS Together. My name's Tracy Lawson. I'm the CEO for PBS Together, and we started this, as the video says, with a real purpose to support behaviour support in Australia and really kind of build a community of learning and support for one another so we can provide best practice to the people that we're supporting. So I'm here with my learned colleague, Professor Helder Gosso, who's the Director of Educational Technology. Hi, Helder.
Hi, Tracy. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Helder, speaking from the traditional lands of the Gomeroi people. Tracy, today we'll be giving away free access to an online course from PBS Together. And it's important to everyone that to enter the draw, simply provide your name and the territory from which you are attending. The draw will take place at the end of this webinar.
Great, thanks Helder. So don't forget, put your name and where you're from in the chat and you'll get a chance to win. And so today I am on the lands of the Bundjalung Nation in Queensland, and I just want to offer our respects to elders past, present and emerging of the lands that we work and live. We are super excited to continue our free webinar series with Debra Fernando. But before we do that, I just want to mention that we will be soon launching PBS Bootcamp. And so this will be 8 months of tailored courses, supervision, case studies. It'll be highly interactive under a coaching model. So please let us know if you're interested, because it'll fill up quickly and we'll be launching that soon. So keep out an eye for that. So now we'd like to welcome Debra Fernando. She started off as a chef, which is like super interesting. Then she worked in remote and regional communities for over 40 years. She has a master's in Education Applied Behavioural Analysis, an honours degree in psychology. She set up lots of amazing community initiatives to really focus on self-determination. She received a Vice Chancellor's Award for her contributions to community. And at one point she was covering 1.4 thousand square kilometres. Is that right, Deb? Is that, million kilometres. I can't even get my head around that. The number's so large in one of her roles. She's worked in universities. She's worked in remote communities. She's done so much. It's difficult. But we really, really welcome you, Deb. We're super excited. And it's really great to see how many people are really keen to understand what do we do? You know, we just don't know all the time to do the right thing. And we're super excited to hear your guidance. So Deb, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Hilda. What an honour to be here. So I'm just, okay. So engaging with First Nations family and, you know, and staying engaged is really important for us as we're journeying through our behavioural teachings. So first of all, I'd like to pay respects to the First Nations people of the land that I'm standing on, which is Wiradjuri land, our culture, our elders, past and present. I'd like to also acknowledge that the First Nations people are the true custodians of Australia's land and waterways. Where I come from is around this area. I'm not sure if you can see my little arrow. Oops. Around the top part of far north of New South Wales, and I'm down here in the Wiradjuri country right now. So I am Gomeroi Bigambul woman with connections far north New South Wales. I have as you've heard, my BA in psychology with honours, and I have my Masters in Applied Behavioural Analysis. I have over 30 years experience of working with First Nations communities, individuals, families, in urban, regional and remote communities across Australia. I'm not an expert on First Nations issues, all of First Nations issues. Everything I talk about today comes from my own experience, knowledge that is given to me from my elders, the communities I have lived in and the individuals in these communities. My experience has inspired me to find more connections between Western theories and First Nations theory or culture, and how they work together and what knowledges they learn. Part of working in these remote communities, really, and learning what I've learned now at going to university, the age of 50, and coming with a lot of knowledge, First Nations knowledge. I learned as I'm going through that journey how to connect with what the Western views are and what our views are as First Nations people. And that was inspiring to learn that our knowledge has lasted so many years, and it's picking, I'll say this, that non-Aboriginal people or Western societies have picked up our knowledge recently in different ways, and behaviouralism is one of those areas. So why ABA, or why applied behavioural analysis for First Nations people? Why positive behavioural support for First Nation people? It's a natural science to me. Through my experience, it's a way we learn, the way we've been taught, how we cope and regulate through our environment and around us from a contextual level. It's culturally sound because it's been practiced without being acknowledged. It's been practiced for centuries, years. And our elders' knowledge are the experts in this field particularly. They taught us law, they taught us the environment and how that connects with consequences, how the behaviour alerts us to a consequence, what is the antecedent. And I talk about this when I had my own experiences as being taught as a child and out in the bush, and Mum would say to me, hey girl, listen to that bird, listen to that sound, because when he makes this particular sound, he will warn you that something dangerous is around, whether it be a snake or whether somebody is coming. So that antecedent, the behaviour, the consequences are all there, and it's being taught from a very early age. We learnt about the river systems and how the stars tell us about what kind of night, and how the moon and what's around the moon and what kind of cyclone is coming. And this is right across Australia. So it's been part and instinctually being part of our culture for thousands of years. How we read the environment, how we learn from the environment, how we learn from each animal, and what is their place in all of these systems. And that's where the laws and the punishment came in, and the reinforcement. So if there was severe punishment, and those punishments were, and the laws were one basic continuous law throughout all nations and over 400 different nations around this one continent. It's shifting, for me, doing and working with positive behavioural support and learning about applied behavioural analysis has shifted a lot of negative views. And to see the results when we see a child that has successfully mastered a task or taken this journey and they're coming out to be their own in their lost and divided state prior to us being part of their life. So that's the main reason why I think that this is for our nation. So First Nations family, what is the history of it? The disconnection, the assimilation, the removal of children, all of these times disconnected. And as invasion started in this country, the only way they could get rid of and try to get rid of and disconnect Aboriginal families is the removal of the children, removal from culture, all of those good behaviours that they've learnt for years, to put them into missions, to remove children and put them into different homes, of disconnecting from family, culture, language. And the waves of assimilation didn't occur once, it occurred several times. And these things, were still going on in the 80s. The removal of the children, that's the highest rate of removal, which was shown in the most recent Closing the Gap report, is the First Nations families, the removal of children is still at the highest rate, the high incarceration. But in that incarceration, our mothers are being incarcerated at a higher rate than the fathers. Suicide, our young people are committing suicide. Why is applied behaviour analysis important? These are the reasons I see that are important. How do we regulate? How do we look at things? How do we diagnose properly? A lot of our children that are being, at the age of 10, and I know a lot of you will be working with 10-year-olds at the age of 10, or you might have a 10-year-old child. Just think about that for a moment, of being incarcerated and being locked up because of the most pettiest things, or because they haven't been diagnosed properly. What hopefulness has that child got? I remember working in Managrita, which is remote community above Darwin. And for the 6 weeks I worked there were 3 suicides, all under the age of 15. These are our babies. And this gets me every time. And as I've travelled around Australia and I see the consistency of the deaths of people from all different ages. And this is why I went into study at the age of 50, is what is it? What is this? What can be done? And sure, part of it all is that transgenerational trauma. In my family alone, my family, my mother was taken from her mother. And I've got some resources, and you can read about my family. It's an amazing journey of amazing woman, Isabel Flick. And it tells you a story of what they had to put up with and the punishment they had to deal with, the stress they had to deal with as children living on a mission, or living in a station as slaves. They then lost the positive behavioural support that they had in their own families, and they were placed in these missions where they were beaten. The enforcement of punishment was severe on them for just being children. So that then we know that transgenerational trauma occurs in our families. We know that these, and it shifts our neurological makeup as well. And we know that occurs as well with trauma and violence. So those are the gaps, and they're the main reasons that I want to see ABA delivered further and part of a new journey in addressing these gaps in our nation. And you guys have got the responsibility, and of being part of this journey. And I think it's really important that we know the ways that we can best interact and build relationships with First Nation people and build relationships with families that are far more sustainable, far more engaging, far more connected. We need to reconnect that environmental, contextual place for us to be. Look, if you've got any questions, and you're not sure of what I'm saying, just pop it in the question box there. Or if you want me to talk more about that, just please let me know. So this is what I see as a Indigenous person going into different Indigenous family homes. And this is what I hear. A lot of our specialists that come into the home, a lot of the government services come into the home, is with that ego, the power, the control, I'm about my organisation, I'm about all of this. Sure, we've got to be part of that. But we as Indigenous people, we aren't as one. And we're about each other, and I see that that's how we need to be as behaviouralists in our communities, in our families. So the way we engage with families will make the difference to those three things that I've mentioned prior, is how we engage. And I want you to think about how you first go into a First Nations family home. Where do you position yourself? Where is your ego? Do you come in as the specialist and the one that knows all and everything about that person's child? Are you the expert in that family now? How do you see yourself when you come into family homes? And what are the things that you check on yourself? Do you engage with the family? How do you first initially engage? And do we have this checklist from our organisations and go, yep, we need to do that initial interview. We need to do the functional assessments. We have to do all of these processes in that first initial interview or the first engagement. And what is that first engagement? What does that look like? Is that in your office? Is that in the family home? Is that over the phone? How do you do that first engagement? And how personal is it? Remember that these families, I'll just go back, children have been removed. And it may not be the children that we're dealing with at the moment, but the mothers may have been removed. The fathers may have been removed. The grandparents may have been removed. And that's still part of their story right now. It's not an ancient story of removal of children. It's still occurring, and it's still occurring at higher rates. So we're dealing with families who have fear. So when they walk into your door, or when you go into their home, they're full of fear of what judgment are you going to be doing on them. So this is one of the most, if you think about the Western colonization, if you think about religion, it's all about where you stand. You think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or at that. You think about how unity works, and we're all connected. We're all connected to the environment. We're all connected to each other. So here we go with this first initial yarn up. Who are the key people in the family? Do you know that before you enter into the home, or before they come into your workspace? Is the First Nations child with a caregiver or with their parents, their biological parents? What kind of support does the family have around them? I mean, I'm pretty sure that most of you would find out all of this about any families. This is the process, and who are the adults in the child's life? So here we deep listen. What is deep listening? Deep listening is all about not only hearing the words, and here we go Skinner, and really bringing Skinner's verbal communication, really talking about what are the signs, is that person getting a bit anxious when they're talking about who or how that child interacts with that. We see all of those sorts of things, and we listen very deeply to what that person is saying. Key points is, I can't do this day because I've got this on, or I know that I have a lot of stresses at the moment. So you're listening very carefully to all of those sorts of things, and where that particular parent or that caregiver who may have only just received the child a month ago and they're finally getting behavioural support because they can't handle or can't deal with the child's trauma that they're going through being removed from their family. Remember, it's intergenerational removal, it's present removal, and it's ongoing. And these children are in these home care situations, and some don't even get a home to go to. They go to a group home. And so they're dealing with all of different types of caregivers and people in those group homes. What is really, and these are coming to some of the key points when you're first engaging, the first yarn, the first sitting out and talking. I put yarn up there because the formality sometimes overrides the practical and reality of what is actually happening with that family and how you can really assist that family. Some families, in that yarn, that first initial yarn, you might go back and say, well, the mental health is not being dealt with in this family with his child. So my places aren't, my place is not there yet with the child, but it is with the parent. And so I can engage with that parent and I can talk more to the parent about some of the responses and reactions that might be occurring because that parent is overstressed, because that parent has carer fatigue, because they need assistance more so than the child at that particular point in their lives. But what are my expectations when I walk into a home? And I really need you to think about that. I know I've got expectations of my organisations. Well, I don't anymore. But you have all of these kinds of pressures that are on you as a practitioner going into people's homes. What do I need to do? How do I need to go about it? And what do I need to tick off with my organisation? And all are important. But how you present in that carer or that parent's home, that child's home, or how they come to you is really important. What is your expectation? How much do you really think you need to get through on that first day? in that first hour? How much do you really think you need to get through? Sometimes the carer is that burnt out that all they need is tell you everything within the first 45 minutes. This is what's happening. You don't get any functional assessments done. You don't get anything else done but allowing them just to talk. And this is your deep listening time. You can start to fill out some of those questions that we have on our functional assessments. So what is your role in that family, and why are you there? And it's so important that you ask yourself this several times as you're taking the journey and working with Indigenous families or First Nation families is, what is your role? What is my role in this family? And why am I here? I've got non-Indigenous children and First Nation children who say to me after we've been working together for about 3 months, they go, "Can I call you Auntie now, Aunt?" You know, without like Aunt, I want to call you Aunt, and because that is part of our cultural role. That is part of my role as an older Aboriginal, well, matured, kind of not old, but kind of young Aboriginal woman. So I'm at that auntie stage. And so, you know, when you've got non-Indigenous children running up to the gate saying, "Auntie, Auntie, Auntie," what do? You just go, "Hey, hey, how you going, buddy?" So it's all of those sorts of things. Is what am I expecting? And I guess I get the same that you may feel sometimes is when I go into a non-Indigenous home. What do I expect? Am I expecting before I am sitting there and going, it's not about me. It's about that family. So my expectations shouldn't even exist. What does my organisation at that first initial to be extremely flexible in saying, well, you know, there is no expectations in that first. It's about getting to know. It's about connecting. Because remember, all of those connections have been lost. And so we're now forming and starting to form connections with this family before we start working with this family. What is my role? Am I being really clear on what an auntie is in this role, working in a professional setting like this? It's challenging. How do you say no to a 5-year-old that wants to call you auntie? And so defining my auntie role in all of this is really, really important for me. And how do I define that with the child? And how do I define that with the parents or the caregiver? Because remember, these children have been abandoned. They've been removed. They feel rejected. So and they're clinging and looking for these relationships that are long-lasting, which are really important to them. So what is my role and why am I here? Why am I looking at working with these children? Check on yourself. And, you know, some people talk about feelings and, you know, we can't really assess our feelings, but there's an instinctual thing within inside of you that can tell you whether you're right for this family or not. And you need to listen to that. And again, that's that deep listening. Listen to self check yourself. And that process is continuous throughout the whole time you're with that family. It's such an important place, important step to be doing every time. Is this child getting bored with what I'm doing? Because I've done puzzles for the last 10 weeks. Oh my God, I need to find something else because he's not wanting to interact or she's not wanting to interact. So empowering your first name is carers or parents. Create that connection. The connection is so important. And how you go about connecting and creating that connection is, I do it by where I come from, who I am, both with non-Indigenous and Indigenous families. This is who I am. This is where I come from. This is what I've done. A lot of the carers who are taking on children I work with are the grandparents. So we already had that old age connection. We can talk about, those times. So our connections are pretty strong there. So I feel that is the first step. Acknowledging what that person is, because that person you're sitting in front of right now feels insecure. They feel not in control of anything. They're burnt out. They're tired. They're feeling like failures. And as you deep listen into their story, you can hear all of that. They may not say it, but you can hear it. So you're acknowledging what they're doing well. You're acknowledging what are the great things, the good behaviours in that child. Oh, yeah, he can bite and scratch, but gee, he can do that work really well. And you're really, really doing and highlighting and focus on, hey, Nan, you've done a great job getting him to put his shoes on. Without that, those are all things. You're deep listening throughout that initial journey. You're acknowledging the challenges. Oh my God, it's 65 and you're taking on a 5-year-old. How challenging is that? And really, and I know some of you, I'm not sure, but some of you might be a little bit younger than me. And your experiences aren't there, but you can find a connection. And you can find that through your mother, your grandmother. You can find that connection of just, I've seen that before. I've heard that before. And it's really important that you start looking at that strong connections. Evolve yourself with the carer. Involve your care in each of your sessions. So most, I see specialists going to family homes and most of them go in and, okay, see you later, that's okay, or you can sit there, that's fine. But they don't involve the carer in the practical methods you use in your sessions. So that's why I say the 7th step is allow the parent and the carer. I have a young family and both were in their 20s. And also, and they'll engage, and now I've worked with them for 6 months and now they take on my sessions after modelling, after, explaining divert, all those sorts of things. They're now starting to take control of the sessions. That's when I know that these parents are engaged, they're empowered, they have got the confidence now to actually do these things without shame. And I've got that down the bottom there. It's just to remember what First Nations parents have gone through. Remember about their fears, the judgments, the shame, the removal. Remember, you are not the expert on their child. And that's so important. You walk in there, and I walk in there every time I see a child or family. Remember, and I say this several times throughout my journey with that family, I am not the expert on your child. You tell me what's going on. So then staying connected is that keep checking in on that caregiver. Keep checking in to see whether their confidence, whether that old auntie is actually building confidence and not codependence. And that's the difference. the codependence, and making sure that they're building confidence to take on this work themselves in their families. Empowering the child. Again, you know, we know this, we all do it. We create these connections with the children. We acknowledge the good behaviours. We highlight the positive behaviours. We acknowledge the challenges and the strength. Oh, this must be really hard today, but oh, wow, I love the way you looked at me then. It was a beautiful smile. Those things are little, they're tiny, but they mean so much. Remember, this child has been told that he or she is bad, and has been told not only in the home but out in community, in the school, there's something wrong with this child. Often being told they are not good enough and they can't do, so their confidence level is out. Often experienced trauma. So the removal of the family or being part of domestic violence, these little fellas are just trauma. There's a lot of trauma involved in all of this. They're abandoners, feeling abandoned and rejected. So, you know, we need to look at ways to keep that positive behaviour, positive strengths coming forward in each session. They may not have mastered anything yet, but there's something good about that child every time you see that child. Retaining. How do we retain your families? And look, sometimes this is really challenging. But the way I've done it and the way I've been able to retain and keep my relationships is to keep checking on my relationship with that family. Keep checking. Is the family still engaging? I ask myself, oh, they haven't returned my call this week. Hope everything's okay. But have I, and I check then on myself, okay? Yep, we did that session. I checked that I've not overstepped any marks. I keep on checking. Is the child, and again, we keep on saying, you know, am I doing this? Do I need to change this up a bit? I need to keep on checking myself. Remembering you are not the expert. I'll say this 100,000 times. You are not the expert on that child. The parent or the caregiver is. Check on you to see if you are still committed to this family. And look, that's a hard question. That's a hard question, because have we taken on a family that is outside of what we can do? Do we need to really think about that? Oh my God, this child is outside of my abilities. And, you know, and sometimes I think that's where that ego, remember that ego? We really need to push that one down, not to push it away, because we need to be really honest with self in regards to what we can actually do and who we can be. Pick up on those non-verbal cues each time you go there. Is the parent still engaging in your sessions, or is she off making a coffee, or is he off making a coffee or sitting on the phone? Are they engaged, still engaging? Have I got to shift it around for them too? Have I been doing the same thing with that parent every time? Am I repeating myself like a broken record? Oh, this is what diverting or redirecting is, and am I still doing that? How do I explain that in a different way that makes sense? How do I change up my verbal cues? How do I do that? And being that speaker and that listener is such an important role. Checking in on that caregiver and that parent is, are they implementing? I always remind my parents or carers that, hey, I'm here for an hour. I can't do anything to fix your child. I am not that. I'm here to support and give you some tools that I may be able to help you with, and to also listen to what you have have already done, and how we can shift that around a little bit. So engaging and ensuring that your families are still, or your parents or the people around are still implementing. I've got one family, a grandmother, 9-year-old child, and her supports or adults around are all engaging in the practice. So who are non-biological, or there's only the grandparent who's biological, and they're all engaging in because they're part of her life. So that's when I go back to that first one. Who are those people? Who are those main people in her life, or their life? Listening deeply to that parent, that carer, those people around. And I'm not sure if you're getting what I'm talking about. If you've got any question what that listening deeply is, just really, really talk about it with me. Is the child feeling, how's the child feeling? Are they still engaged with you? Are they empowered? Have you built that confidence? Can they, when you walk in the room and they're saying to me, Auntie, look what I can do. Look what I can do. And that tells me straight up, that confidence. He's gone for that boy that now can do something. And that tells me also that the parent or the caregiver have engaged. And the parent and the caregiver is still engaged. It tells me that child's still engaged. How's that child feeling? Tips, hints, checks and balances. It's all about you. Check yourself. Be yourself. Don't be afraid. We don't bite. Occasionally I've been bitten, been scratched. But we don't. Come in honest, humble, and wanting to learn, because these families teach you. From my clan, from where my family, we believe that every child is born spiritual, and every child has got something to teach you. So that's where I learn. Not only am I learning off that parent, but I'm also learning off that child. And how I can do different things, how I can do my work differently. They're teaching me as much as I'm supporting them. They're teaching me better ways. Remember, you are not, the expert on those children. You are not the expert. The parent or the carer is. Be willing to change the way you do things. Check in. Be willing to shift your focus from time to time when dealing with families. Families can have multiple stresses in one day. So how you deal with that and being willing to be flexible in that is really important. So how do you shift your focus? That might be different to the one that you've been put in the behavioural plan. So how do you shift your focus? How can you shift how are you flexible in that area? Be willing to be the one who is learning. Being humble, coming in, not saying that you are the specialist and you are the expert. You are the one that's going to fix your child. It's really important. If you have cultural questions, and this is a big one, find out another source to find your answers. Do not use your families to build your cultural knowledge about First Nations people. After you learn about First Nation culture, this could be used as a connection only when the First Nations family brings up their culture. So don't go in and saying, hey, Deb, geez, I know a lot about your culture now. What? Yeah, okay. That's not why you're here. So, you know, just be really, really mindful of that. Don't use it as a connection unless it's brought up. You could say something like, yeah, I read about this. If I've said to you, oh, you know, transgenerational trauma, it's, you know, scientifically proven with our culture. And then you could say to me, hey, Deb, yeah, I read about that. I've learned a little bit. To me, I then have one more little level of respect for you, because you've actually taken the effort to learn. So here are some resources for you. The second one is about my family. It's about my auntie, who's my mother's sister. And she lived an amazing, remarkable life. So I encourage you to give that a good read. That's a great book to read. And then there are a couple more resources there for you. So that's me. I'm probably taking way longer than I should have, but please, any questions, anything you'd like to ask me more about?
Thanks so much, Deb. Yeah, you go, Hilda.
Just saying thank you very much for all these insights. It was really nice to listen to you. We have one really nice question here. Hello, as a behavior support practitioner, would you be able to provide some guidance on supporting adults who are isolated from their community, not in touch with family at all?
Yeah. It's a really hard one. It depends on why they were disconnected, how they've been disconnected. So there's a lot of, it's a little bit complex when you're going into trying to reconnect somebody with their family. There's certainly lots of different organisations out there that can assist in supporting adults to reconnect with their family. So, for example, there's Link Up. So if I haven't had contact with my family for a long time, or I was born without knowing, I was adopted without knowing my parents, then Link Up will be able to get you in contact with that family. Also, with adults who are isolated from their community, not in touch with family at all. So it depends on, does that person really want to contact family? Does that person want to be part of that family group? Why did that person leave that family? And that's where I'm saying there's a lot of complexity there. So if you have got a person who really wants to contact, then there's organisations out there that can help you connect with other. I hope that's answered your question.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Debra, in your experience, do you identify any particular aspects that should be observed when conducting a functional behavior assessment with First Nations people? Like what is a reinforcer to them? What is the particularities that we should look for?
Again, we talk applied behavior analysis is all individual, and it's really hard to pinpoint that, to generalize that. I guess I have taken on the functional assessment with that deep listening, and I've said to Tracy, I sit for 3-4 hours and just go over this, and not only do I hear what the person is saying, but I'm also reading what I've written to come up with a plan for that behaviour and what the reinforcements could be. It could be I'm just trying to think of something it's pretty much similar to every other reinforcement. What I have noticed, and what is challenging, is that high rate of incarceration. All right, what's the reinforcer there? The reinforcer, to what I see, is that here I have a place where I can get regulated. I can get my medications easy. I can have my 3 meals a day easy. I will reoffend to go back into that space because I get diagnosed. I get all the things that meet my needs in that structured place. Even though it's not pleasant, it does regulate me. So what's better than, and so we've got to find something that's better than incarceration to address those needs of those regulations, emotional regulations, those internal needs, that person who may have ASD, who has been incarcerated but not listened to. Not being diagnosed, a person may have ADHD, not being diagnosed, not being listened to. Is that kind of answering your question?
Yeah, that's it. We have.
And I think that's one of the reasons we're kind of here today, isn't it? Is to help people that are doing behaviour support and doing this work to actually understand, to be able to provide those supports and do it well. So then it stops all of those sort of things from happening. I know that early on when, I've had a few very small experiences working in communities, and I learnt really quickly that the way I communicated had to change, because I would kind of make an appointment, turn up, expect the person that's going to be in a particular spot, and I learnt that was just not going to work. I had to actually just turn up. I had to walk around the streets, chat to people, get on the mob radio and the newspaper, and just get to know everyone. And then when I turn up and I was looking for someone, saying, "Oh, hey, do you know where such and such?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, she's at this spot." And then you go to them, so you have to be very authentic. I kind of learned that you have to take time to talk and really kind of be present and explain something about yourself, not, "Oh, hi, I'm Tracy, I'm here to do this and that, let's get into it." Really, again, doesn't work. You just get, you get a lot of roadblocks, which you should, and you really have to be authentic and share something about yourself, and be there and chat and experience each other first.
Yes.
And it can be tricky. It can be really tricky to do that.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah. We have one more question here. If you would mind touching on body language, making eye contact, using silence, and things like this.
Again, all of that sort of... Let's go with eye contact first. I look at most people in the eye. I'm Aboriginal. I'll look you straight enough. If you can't look me in the eye, I think there's something wrong happening here. But others might not look you there because of other reasons. So a male in the room may not, the partner may not look at you directly. The female may, or could be the other way around. So I think you just got to gauge that. I think it's really important that you see, but don't be afraid to look at a person in the eye, and then you'll gauge it. If that person instantly goes, "No, I don't want to look at you," and we do that with ASD children too. Some of them will look you straight in the eye, and some will just go, "Don't even go there, Deb." It's something that you've got to do. Body language. I've got years of experience of looking at that. And I think there's a lot of research out there that can teach you about a lot of the body language, and that's just common from everybody. Using silence. It's a good listening skill. Sometimes you just need to be quiet and listen, and just be silent in acknowledging what's going on. Yeah.
So our time is almost over, 1 hour. We need to draw now someone to pick our prize, one free course. Let's share the screen here to see
Sorry
who is
about my dog.
No worries. Okay, we have a problem here. It came just place. Let's try again. Again, we have some issues here. It picks the city and not the name. Let me try one more time. Oh, here's it. With this info, we
it's come up with some information. We'll sort that out. I'm sure Helder can find who that person is, and we'll send you an email. Got a bit of a technology hiccup. Sorry about that, everybody.
We can provide a free course for all the 3 people who.
Yeah.
If you see here and you wrote Central AUS, just say, please get in touch with us, or we are going to try to find you, and we are going to provide this course for you. Thanks very much.
So thanks so much, Deb, for your time. It's just so valuable and it's so important. And I know that for a lot of people working in behaviour support want to do the right thing, are keen to support First Nations families, but they don't want to do the wrong thing, and they're just not sure, and so they may hesitate and then not provide the support that they could provide, and then those families are missing out on some really good supports. And we know even some of the things that you shared with us today, there's still a huge gap in what First Nations families are receiving, the supports and services that they have access to. And, you know, we all need to hold that responsibility to start filling that gap. And the information that you shared is just so valuable and just really thought-provoking in reminding us that we have to really listen and really be present and just take our time and kind of go through those tips. I love those tips that you shared as well. They're really practical, and it helps us all stop and think, and doing those regular check-ins as well, you know, kind of helps us kind of keep track of ourselves. Really, really deeply appreciated, Deb. So I don't know if you want to say any kind of last kind of summary of anything before we finish up.
Thank you so much for your wonderful kind words. I really appreciate everybody that's commenting there. It's just wonderful. Thank you. Those 3 gap areas, they're all behavioural. We can do this as behaviouralists. We can really do this and assist in bringing that gap down and those behavioural issues that our young people are struggling with. So for me, this is really important that you are here as well, to hear. And I just, you know, acknowledging that your expertise and I say that don't be the expert, but I know you have a lot of skills to support and assist in First Nations people. So thank you guys as well. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And Helder will reach out to those couple of people that want a free access to our course. And don't forget to look out for our next webinar. We do these every month. And thank you so much for your time, everyone, for connecting with us this afternoon and learning about this really important topic so we can do better together. So thanks very much for everyone, and see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.